Welcome to The Brain Dump, where we study the psychology of success. Join us as we probe the habits, rituals, and routines of top-performing artists, entrepreneurs, authors, athletes, and more to uncover the timeless principles we can all use to take our lives to the next level. Are you ready to plunge the grunge that's been gunking up your mind's eye? Great, then let's get to it.
Guys, welcome back to The Brain Dump. It's Austin and Anthony in the house. He's always doing good. I'm not even going to ask him, guys, because he just lives the high life. So
I think that's maybe overselling it.
So what we're going to talk today about, guys, is if me and Anthony were just young whippersnappers.
Hey. Speak for yourself.
You're pretty young.
I'm young at heart. I've never asked this, Austin. How old are you?
See?
Are you an old man?
You know what's interesting? I asked somebody the other
You're
day.
either 52 or 22.
I asked somebody the other day how old they thought I was because nobody guessed right. So
I'm going to say 33.
I am 38.
Damn.
So if we were 18 again and we were fresh out of high school and we know what we know now, what will we do? Where would we start? Anthony, I'll let you start off. Where would you start?
If I'm a young whippersnapper and I have all the information that I currently have in my brain, but I don't necessarily have the network or the relationships yet or the proven track record. That's a good question. I think for me, I would start by getting really clear on what it is that my objective is. Because when I was young, like the thing was, I wasn't fixated on money. I wasn't interested in making money. It didn't matter to me. I really just wanted to go and do what I wanted, when I wanted, where I wanted. So I just did that without the money. And then when you're young, you can afford to like kind of take those risks. And so first is, get clear, like, what is it that you want to do? Do you want to go ahead and maximize your 20s and go play? Or would you like to start investing that time and understanding first, get clear on like what your vision for your future is and make sure that you're in alignment with what's deep in your heart, not just what society's telling you you should go do next.
I love that. I was still a little wild. I could barely dress myself at 19. I was working hard though. Mm-hmm. I would, I've said this multiple times. I would figure out a way to create a sustained cash flow per month that I could live off of, whether that's an investment or a business or something that over time I could automate. If you're young, you got all the money. You got all the time in the world. Maybe you start wholesaling and you systematize out that business. But I think the biggest thing is I would get to a place where I could cover my living expenses, $3,000 to $5,000, something like that, living on not a lot. And then I would travel and I would learn as much as I could. I would be a sponge and I would travel around to different people doing different type of investing so I could get a gauge of what hits me in the right spots, what gets me the most excited, right? I think a lot of people get into business or get into a certain type of investing, yet they're not that excited about it. Like, I can do Airbnb in my sleep. It doesn't mean it makes me excited. Like, but what excites me is going to buy businesses. What excites me took me 38 years to find out, the bigger stuff, right? You know what I'm saying? So I would dip my toe in a couple different waters. Me and you talk about this a lot of times. I would not emulate, but I would take from people that, what I liked, what hit me in the right spots. And then I would go from there. But that cash base would be the number one thing that I would search for. And then once I get to that cash base, then I would make decisions from there, not the other way around.
Yeah, so I think there's two parts to this question that we have to figure out which way we want to go. Because on one hand, like I mentioned, you can go the freedom route and like just go and like maximize your youth, go live it up. Like, and there's nothing wrong with that. The other side of that is like maybe you want to accelerate your trajectory towards success, and you're like, I want to start building. I want to get to the top. Like, if you're like, I want to be at the top of whatever hierarchy, I want to achieve massive success, and like I'm going to start young. Well, here's two things I would put in front of you. I would start by being really cognizant about the relationships in my life, who I'm surrounding myself with. First is making sure that coming out of college or coming out of school when you're young, and a lot of your friends are going to be young and dumb, and that's fine, but they're not going to be moving you towards your goal. They're going to be kind of pulling you down inadvertently. So make sure that you're surrounding yourself with the right people. Number two is recognizing that you don't know who necessarily the right people are going to be in a 10, 15, 30-year horizon. And so treat everybody good, be good to everybody, invest in the social capital of these relationships, because they take decades to come to fruition in a lot of cases. But if you do that when you're young in your 20s, by the time you hit your 30s and 40s and 50s, you're going to really feel the velocity that social capital can achieve. So that's one thing. Play long-term games with long-term people. You've heard me say that before. Make sure that you're investing in the people around you. And then if you really want to get to the top, let's say you want to be a top real estate investor, you want to build a business or whatever it is, go find the person who's already at the top of the game. Find them, find the sun, and then get as close to them. Do whatever it takes to get as close to them for as long as you can. Work for free, like clean their toilets, get close to them, because that is going to accelerate you much, much, much faster than anything else. So if you want to be like the guru of marketing, if you want to be like a kingpin videographer and vlogger, like you could do worse than going and working for Gary Vee. If you could get next to Gary Vee and you're like his personal video guy over the next 3-4 years, getting that experience, it's going to, one, accelerate your skills, but then two, your upward mobility potential just from that one relationship and that one opportunity is eye-opening. And so find like those 100 people. We talk about the dream of 100, right? Like go find those 100 people who like you would give a right arm to be around, and then figure out how to get next to at least one of them. One of them will take you on if you find a way to be useful to them. And that, my friends, would be a really good way to spend your early 20s in pursuit of massive career success.
And then everything that you said, do that with no ego. You know,
yeah, it's implied, right?
Yeah, well, you would hope, but be teachable, right? And be a sponge. Because I'll be honest with you, man, and I say this probably on a weekly basis. The amount of mindset training in business sense some of these 22 and 23-year-olds that are friends of mine have, and where they are in their investing life or their business life, blows me away these days. But they got started at 17. And so at 23, you know, he just closed 38 deals last month. Like, and he owns like 3 businesses. And I'm like, Jesus, like I was, but he started out around amazing people that had already done it. He didn't ask for anything. He actually worked for free for 6 months. And so these are the steps that take, and here's the great thing. When you're that young, I would have a reckless abandonness to your investing, to your business. Because as I tell people, when you're that young and you don't have anything in your life, or you're not married, you don't have a family, you don't have a big house, what are you falling from? The couch? That's as far as you're falling. It's not that big of a deal. So go out there, get around the right people, put in the work, be a sponge, get in the right rooms, keep your mouth shut, work extremely hard, harder than everybody else. And then you're going to look up 2-3 years down the road, and you're going to be 10 years past anybody that you ever been around, because you were in the right rooms. You weren't the smartest person. And I would really, I had a guy on my podcast, and he said there was a lot of opportunities that came his way when he was making money as a young person, but he put the blinders on and he just moved forward until he was in a position where he felt like he could invest. I think too many times we're looking to invest to get us out of something instead of it being the strength that we're looking for. And I think we need to change the narrative on the investing part and make sure that it's a strength of ours, not something we're hoping we get out of it, and really doing it from a calculated position.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The thing you mentioned there about really going with reckless abandon, what I would say is when you're young is the time to take risks, like, because the reward in this modern era is so outsized in relation to the downside. Like, in yesteryear, if you put yourself out there in a limb, you left your job, you tried to build a business and it went under, they have debtor's prison. Next thing you know, you're in shackles, and that's no bueno, right? So you go to prison or you die. And so failure, no good. These days, what's the worst that's going to happen? You go bankrupt, you start again, try again, take another swing at the bat. And so, but the potential upside, limitless. You're not going to die out there. You're going to be okay. Like, as long as you avoid catastrophic ruin in the form of getting put in prison or getting put in the ground, you're going to have another swing at bat. And the time to take those swings is when you're young and you can afford to miss, and you're resilient, you can bounce back. And so take those risks and then put yourself in the way of opportunity and seek that out aggressively, and recognize that might not be where you currently are, that you might have to move out of wherever you are right now to put yourself in an uncomfortable location with uncomfortable people. But that's like, if you want to be in the movie business, boy, howdy, you better move to LA, right? If you want to be in the fashion industry, then you probably got to move to New York. Like, you got to go. If you want to be in the tech industry, Silicon Valley, sorry, but you got to do that. Put yourself in the environment where you can maximize serendipity. If you live in Omaha and you want to be like the next Zuckerberg, well, I don't know what to tell you, man. Your best bet, again, goes back to my first piece of advice: audit the people you're surrounding yourself with. There is nobody in Omaha, with the exception of one man, who can help you become the next Zuckerberg. But if you go to Silicon Valley, there are like 100 of those people. Okay.
Well, you know what? Perfect example. Love that. I've interviewed a lot of real estate investors who were in Silicon Valley, working in startups or whatever, who are great investors now that learn so much just being around those people in their early years. And so if I were you, speaking of all this, look, an Austin, Texas, a Miami, a Dallas, a Denver, these cities where people are building businesses, there's energy, there's vibrance. You have to get around those things. It will spark other things. You will meet somebody. And something I will tell you, every dollar that you spend, don't look at it as a dollar, right? Perfect example. One of my coaching clients is building a big health insurance business. They both had houses, single guys. They moved into a high rise in Denver. And within the first week, they made 5 business relationships. So what is that rent, right? That rent is getting around the action. It's getting where it's getting around where the business is going down. They've made multiple connections since then. They host a meetup at their high rise. Where the action is, where the people are, that's where the ideas are getting flowed. That's where the networking's happening. And yeah, you might have a screen, but there's something to be said for person-to-person networking.
Yeah, you got to surround yourself with the absolute best, regardless of where you're trying to get to. Like, you hear about this all the time when athletes, they say, like a football star, they go from playing in high school, they go to college, and suddenly they're like, wow, everybody here is so much better. The pace of play is so much higher. Everybody's so much faster. Like, those fat guys on the line, they're as fast as the wide receivers were in high school. Holy crap, what do I do? And eventually they adjust, they adapt, and they overcome. And then they move up to the NFL, and it's like, holy crap, all these guys are so much faster, so much better, so much stronger than they were in college. And you either get pooped out the back end, or you adapt, you overcome, and you rise up to the challenge. But it's the same thing with business, with success, with entrepreneurship. And that's kind of what I'm talking about through that lens. If you want to succeed in business, you got to go and surround yourself with the absolute best, because it's going to help raise your game. And when you're young, that's the time to be doing that. So really focus on skill acquisition above all else, like skill acquisition and network acquisition. So the 2 biggest investments you can make in yourself and your network. And if you're focusing on leveling up your skills constantly, like ruthlessly trying to figure out, how do I get better at whatever the thing is that you're working on, you're going to compound that over years. And by the time you hit your 30s, you're going to just be on a different level. You're going to be so much better if you're just focusing on skill acquisition and relationship acquisition more so than capital acquisition. I would say don't even worry about the money until you turn 30. Just put your head down, keep working, live below your means, and just focus on skills and people. By the time you turn your head up at 30, you're going to be an unstoppable monster.
100%. And then 40, you're just going to become a bank.
You're a legend.
You're a legend. I love it. Guys, homework is go out there, skills, networking, do it to yourself. It's for you. Keep your blinders on. Turn out the noise. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us here at The Brain Dump. Now, before you go, it's important to solidify what you've learned here today by taking action. If all you do is listen, then you're only going to retain a small amount of the information you consumed here today. So take a quick moment to really lock in any key insights, tidbits, or pieces of wisdom that you want to carry with you into the future. You can do this by heading over to iTunes and leaving a review with your top 3 takeaways from this episode. If you've already left a review, first, thank you so much. Second, it's time to start a brain dump journal. It doesn't have to be fancy, just a slip of paper will do where you can record a couple quick thoughts from each episode. Science shows this is one of the best ways to ensure long-term retention of new information. And finally, if you've got a brother, a sister, a coworker, or a best friend that you think would benefit from this episode, do them and us a favor and share with them this episode. Your support, as always, means the world to us.